Come here now, girl.
Hello and welcome to the Map of the Year 2022 with me, BonBonB. I'm BonBonB, you're very, very welcome. Well, we are rattling through the categories. We've already got 3 behind us, and today we're going in with the fantasy maps, the fantasy category. Now, if you're going to stick around the next couple of days, we still have the realistic and the alternative biome categories to look at, and then on New Year's Day itself, the outright Map of the Year winner, along with a notable runner-up. So, fantasy maps. Let's start off with probably the king of fantasy maps in terms of active creators on the workshop. Yes, we have Khazgadia by Anoupou, Merynetjerou. Now, they did actually say in the YouTube comments at one point that they didn't think that they were going to be in the final dozen. Well, there was kind of no competition. It's a standout map anyway, regardless of if there was competition. But there wasn't really another map quite like it. And of course, being Anoupou, while there's no other map quite like it, this is also exceptional in quality. Now, hang on, you say. This is your runner-up map, BonBon, isn't it? Because you're showing it first. Well, yeah. Even though it's the standout fantasy map, in terms of this is by far the most fantastical of all the quality fantasy maps that I've seen this year, I've got another map which I think is a better map to follow up and win. I'm sure Anoupou won't mind. I'm sure they will not mind at all. Anyway, let's talk about what I feel makes a fantasy map, because it's one of those things that most City Skylines maps are, to some level, fantasy maps. For a start, any map that has a water spawn point actually within the map that leads down, becomes a stream, becomes a river, then probably has enough water flow in the start square to allow for sewage to be drained away. That's fantastical. That's just, the scale just does not work. The City Skylines map is too small to be able to have a full biome like that. So all City Skylines maps are fantasy maps, kind of, really. So what do I think makes a City Skylines map a fantasy map? Well, I say 3 things mostly. First of all, unnatural terrain. Terrain that you look at and you go, I can't see how that could possibly have evolved. I mean, maybe a bit volcanic, maybe a bit of erosion, maybe a bit of tectonic shifting. But you look at the entire shape and you go, yeah, it's not plausible. It could happen. We do see some unique parts of the world, like the Eye of the Sahara, where you look at how would that have happened? Well, it did. So these things do happen, but in terms of these tend to be more creative than a realistic map in terms of design. Things like pointy mountains, that sort of thing, and far too many of them for the area, that sort of thing. Then you have your creative waterways, rivers that break the natural rules. Again, you look and you go, I can't really see how this could possibly have naturally evolved, but it's beautiful and I love it. Yeah, so that's also fantasy. And then the third thing I would say would be probably something like over elaborate networking, where you look at the area that you've got and you go, yeah, something simple would do. Oh, look at this fantastic network we've got, and the crazy road layouts that pull it all together. And of course, an excellent fantasy map will have not just crazy road layouts, but crazy road layouts that are just scintillating and just excite you for wanting to actually start building around them. And that's exactly what we have with Khazgadia, all of those things. We've got a terrain which is just a marvellous piece of design. I don't think it's Anoupou's best work, but I still think it's an outstanding work from 2022, and so all credit there. Then we have these waterways, which are frankly ludicrous. In all of the best ways. Loads of waterfalls, and of course waterfalls is something I am looking to put together a tutorial on in 2023. Plenty of tutorials coming on my channel in 2023 as I completely rebuild the channel from the base up. And then of course over elaborate road and rail networking. And well, if I just show you this, Is this not over elaborate? I think it is. Again, maybe this is the only way you could get from the top of the mountain to the bottom of the mountain. And why the heck not? Listen, if they can build Machu Picchu, they can build a windy, swirly road to get you from the top of the mountain down to the bottom of the mountain. But all told, this is fantasy, isn't it? This is absolutely magically fantasy. It is the mostest fantasy map that we had this year, and thus it has to be in my final 2. Now, the mostest fantasy does not necessarily mean you are the fantastical map of the year, because there's more to it than that. For example, if you've got an island map that has 1 island in it, that's an island map that has 2 islands in it. Score higher because there are more islands. The answer is, well, it could, but not because it's got more islands. It'll win for other reasons. Anyway, Khazgadia by Anoupou Merynetjerou. Look at that. That is just ludicrous, and I love it. Absolutely love it. Plenty of buildable space in there as well. Anyway, so what is my fantasy map of the year if it's not this? Well, it's a fantasy map of a different type. One where we have so many biomes squeezed into it in a well-designed space, in what's an exceptionally attractive looking map as well, with plenty of buildable space and a somewhat quirky start square area design as well. Quirky, but still buildable. It's a work of art, and honestly, for a short while, I thought this was actually going to win Map of the Year. It's Rockshore Coast by Snoozby. For a short while, because as I was juggling the maps about, for a while, this one was sitting in my my S tier. I didn't use one of those tier list things, but maybe I should have done. I had this sat in my S tier, and everything was getting shuffled around about it. And it got nudged down, I would say really late in the process, but fairly late in the process, because it was quite clear there was a map that it couldn't beat. And we'll see that one on Monday. So, okay, right, so fantasy map. Well, we got the biomes. We've got all of this sweeping space. This ridge of mountains here separates all this lovely sweepable space here from a completely different biome over here where we have some desert. Again, not just desert, but nicely created deserts, nicely designed deserts over 3 dimensions. Again, it's all about adding a little bit of verticality into the map design. And there's plenty enough of it without it being too much. There's plenty enough of it too, if you want to have a little deserty area on your map. You can do something over here. You can be creative over here. It's marvellous. Okay. But then we'll head towards the river and into a more mountainous kind of area. And wait till you just see into the mountains. We'll just stick a nose up and into the mountains as well, so you can see just how beautiful it is up there. Again, as a fantasy map, it's slightly less fantastical than Khazgadia, but the design, it's all about the design. We've crammed so much into here, but also while cramming into this small space, so many different biomes and areas, and still leaving a huge amount of room to build, to play with, to work around. Look at that little lake up in the hills there. Stunning. Absolutely stunning. Anyway, well, we head round here. It's be a national park kind of area. If you've got park life, I think you're going to be doing something up in this area, without question. And now we're going to do a spin around and head down towards the start square, but not the route that you'll be taking for the start square, because that goes down a slight ravine. Oh yeah. We're going to then hit the wetland area. Yeah, we've got a wetland area, and it's not tucked in the corner of a map. It's slap bang more or less in the middle. This is just stunning. And again, this wetland area, it's implausible the way that it's been created. I like it, but it's implausible, and that's what makes this a fantasy map. Just doesn't quite feel that it would live there, but it also feels like it couldn't live anywhere else. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. Snoozby, I have said it so often, massively underrated creator. When they can produce work like this, you just know that you've got a great creator. Here's that start square. And you get to Start Square coming down that valley there. See the ravine running up the top of the valley? Yeah, the road comes down through that ravine, into the valley, into the buildable spot at the bottom. Do you know what? I absolutely applaud this. This is stunning. Rockshore Coast by Snoozby. It's going to be my fantasy map of the year. Now, it's possible we've got a more fantastical map as map of the year. I'm not saying anything. Not giving any clues away, but there are, like I say, there are maps that fall into different categories. We definitely have had multitudes of maps already that could have sat in several, like your real life locations and your vanillas and so forth. Yeah, but this is nice. This is exactly how things should be. Join me again tomorrow where we'll have a look at our penultimate category. It's bound to be good, because as you can tell, we haven't seen a single poor map this year. Not in the Map of the Year series anyway. Why would we? And I'll be back very, very soon. And if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button. Now's the time to do it. Notification bell too. We've got a busy year coming. Thanks for watching.